I welcome you all to this roundtable on transforming medical reps into trusted medical influencers. This RT is brought to you by Sharpsell in association with ETHealthworld. Pharmaceutical businesses are embracing multi-channel, multi-contact engagement strategies with healthcare professionals in this dynamic era, setting new records with creative sales tactics. The go-to-market approach and the role of medical representatives are changing significantly in tandem with the industry's fast transformation. It's clear that to improve unconventional sales methods, businesses must create a precise sales playbook and harness the power of successful encounters. The objective of this discussion is to provide MRs with the skills, tactics, and information necessary for their success, with a particular emphasis on the art of establishing credibility, trust, and respect during those critical first exchanges. For healthcare workers, with discernment and a never ending schedule, these are the moments that leave a lasting memory. The goal of a RT has been to bring together seasoned individuals and industry veterans to solve this urgent issue. Our panelists today will impart their precise knowledge, tried and true techniques, and creative approaches. The final objective is to produce the comprehensive playbook that pharmaceutical sales teams and MRs require to succeed in their sales endeavors, gain the confidence of HCPs, and rise to the occasion. Today we have with us Mr. Ayush Kumar Agarwal, Director of Commercial Excellence, AstraZeneca, Mr. Anjan Ghosh, Senior President, Commercial Excellence and Strategy, Bharat Serums and Vaccines Limited, Mr. Ashish Gupta, Head of Sales, Prescription, Galderma India, Harpreet Pannu, Director and Head Sales and Marketing, Academy Cipla, Mr. Harsh Monga, Head Sales, Capability and Coaching Practice, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, so Parag Jaha, Head Training Department, Aristo Pharmaceuticals Private Limited, Ritesh Kumar Verma, Senior GM and Lead LNOD, Sales and Operation, Indoco Remedies Limited, Sriram Balasubramanian, Director, Commercial and Business Development, Juventus Healthcare Limited, Sushil Barkur, Associate Vice President, L&D, TM and OD, Alchem Laboratories Limited, and Arun Subramanian, Co-founder, CBO, Sharpsell. My name is Bharat and I will be moderating the session, and Arun here will be my co-moderator. So to begin with, firstly, I would request the panelists not to exceed 2-3 minutes of talking time when they are responding to a question. And my first question I would pose to Mr. Ghosh. How has the pharma landscape market changed in the last 5 years? What kind of innovative multi-channel, multi-contact interactions approach with HCPs help in strengthening traditional sales and sales techniques and beyond? So before we begin, if you could introduce yourself as well.
Me? To Ghosh.
Anjan Ghosh?
Mr. Anjan Ghosh, yes.
Okay.
So let's begin this way, sir.
So there's always been a confusion when you have two people with the same surnames. Okay, to introduce myself, that I currently, as mentioned, head the commercial excellence strategy and supply chain domestic in Bharat Serums and Vaccines. It's been a long journey for me in the industry. It's joined around 84, so a dinosaur in its own right. Went through all kinds of commercial roles and then moved into strategy in this. As an experience, I've been with Aventis, now it's known as Sanofi, with MSD, with J&J, and with Pfizer Animal Health for some small period of time, 4 years. So that's been my introduction piece. And to respond to the question, or we go through the introduction first? How do you want to?
Maybe we'll go through the introductions
Introductions
once,
first,
and
and I'll come back to the question then. Mr. Balasubramanian.
I am Sriram Balasubramanian. I head the business development and commercial operations of Zuventus and one of the founding members of Zuventus Healthcare. I spent more than 3 decades, started as a medical rep, moved the ladder as product manager, marketing manager, GM marketing, vice president marketing, and then in the role as one of the founders taken the mantle in terms of introducing new businesses, new opportunities for the company, and managing all the techno-commercial operations of the company. So, entire bandwidth. That's my CV in short.
Mr. Jha.
Thank you so much, first of all, inviting, here ET Healthworld as well as Sharpsell. I appreciate, Mr. Vikram as well as Mr. Prabhat both for constantly in touch. My name is Parag, and I have completed almost around 32 years in the industry. Started as a medical representative, as he said. I also started as MR with a company called Abbott, and work maybe for a manager's cadre as well, first line, second line. Then shifted into training. So almost around 15 years in field and around 17, 18 years in training department. I also worked in companies like Ranbaxy, GSK, Zydus Cadila, Torrent, and currently with Aristo Pharma. Thank you.
Mr. Ashish Ghosh.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks to ET Health and Sharpsell to inviting me and allowing me to share this stage with all the stalwart of the industry. Myself, Ashish Ghosh, I have almost 2 decades of experience. I started my career from Unichem, and now being working in Galderma for almost 18 years. I joined Galderma as like you as a medical rep. I've been managing throughout the country for different roles and different places. Currently, I head the sales for prescription, and also in recent past, in last 6 months, I have been also heading the sales for aesthetic business. So that's a small introduction about me.
Okay. Before we come to, let's go with Mr. Verma.
Yeah. Thank you. Good evening and namaskar, everybody. Thanks a lot, ET Health and Sharpsell. And my name is Ritesh Kumar Verma. I lead the learning and organizational development team of Indoco Remedies. So I take care of India business and our operations, so manufacturing facilities. So I carry almost 24 years of experience into pharmaceutical industry, and like most of us, I was medical rep one day when I started. So I was into sales, into various roles, and then moved into sales training, then learning and development. This has been the journey so far. Thank you very much.
Ms. Panu.
So hi, I'm
Your mic is off.
So sorry. So I'm Harpreet. I represent Cipla over here, and thank you for having me here. I started my journey as a marketeer right out of my MBA, and then joined as a product manager. I've worked across 8 therapy areas within the pharma space. I then stepped back and wanted to do something different from pharma, so I spent some time in diagnostics, logistics, a lot of other industries. I have sort of zigzagged my career from marketing to consulting, strategy, some startup businesses. And then I moved into this HR and commercial role of the training. Currently I head the learning and development for the India business of Cipla, which is the sales, as well as I launched the marketing academy for them. So it's interesting, and I think it's looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Agarwal.
Yeah, thank you so much. Honored to be a part of this elite panel, and thank you for the opportunity. It's an honor sharing probably the panel with such elite members who most of us started as a medical rep. Delighted to hear. I thought I would be the odd one with more than 2 decades of experience, but I'm very happy to see that people have really progressed well from starting with medical rep and then probably leading the cadres now. Well, I started with GSK. I've been about 2 decades with AstraZeneca, so it's difficult to spell out other names. Started with GSK, was there for about a year, moved to Ronpolang, and probably jumped up the ladders. Started as a sales rep, obviously, was into sales most of my period, but then in 2015 I moved into marketing. In AstraZeneca, handled the brand called Brilinta, and then was for a 2-year stint outside India, taking care of frontier markets, handling small Asian markets, had an Asia area role in the commercial excellence field, and last October I was back in India, handling the commercial excellence team, which encompasses strategy, BD, training, SFE, and other functions.
Thank you, sir.
That's about me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Monga.
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Harsh from Dr. Reddy's. Same with 32 years of experience. Started as a rep with Pfizer, but then moved out of pharma, stayed away from pharma for 15 years, worked in different industries like IT, training, telecom, BFSI, consulting, petroleum, and so forth, and came back to pharma in 2011 with Dr. Reddy's. So I'm currently heading the sales capability and coaching practice, effectively sales training and coaching piece of the organization for India business and some of the neighboring countries.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Parkour, if you could introduce yourself. So your mic was on.
Yeah. Hi, good evening to all of you. Correct. Very happy to be here, and very known faces are here, so I'm feeling very comfortable and safe and secure. Right. So I'm representing here Alchem Laboratories Limited, and I'm heading learning and development, talent management, and OD. These are the three spaces where I have been working, and my overall experience is around 23 years. Correct. By training, I'm a pharmacologist. Correct. I started my career as a scientist, but in 6 months I realized that test tubes and apparatus and I do not have a compatibility there. So came to the sales, then resumed my career as a sales representative. Correct, with Zydus Cadila, and then I worked in Indian companies like Dr. Reddy's. That was my second company. 3.5 years after working there, then I started finding that my passion is somewhere, correct, where I love interacting with people, and that is how that training first job with Nicholas Piramal has taken place, right, as a business training manager. And there within 15 months I realized that the shelf life of product trainer is not much. At the same time, this is not the product training alone, correct, which contributes to the success of people. There are other elements are also there, and that is why that quest for understanding the human psychology, that what makes people successful, has brought me into the journey of training, learning, and development. And currently, I'm associated with Alchem for last 12 years. So starting from starting a sales training department from scratch, and then getting the progressive responsibilities. So this is about me.
Thank you, sir. Arun.
Hi all, good evening. This is Arun, co-founder of Sharpsell. Great to be amidst all of you. So I think I have a slightly different career path than a lot of you. I started as a mechanical engineer, worked with Whirlpool in a factory for a few years, and I realized factory was not my calling. So then I did my MBA at IIM Ahmedabad. Then I worked across multiple roles, supply chain, mergers and acquisitions. I worked in India, Netherlands, US, and at some time I said, hey, I want to do something on my own, and I think one of my bosses had this question saying, Arun, if you want to start up, when are you going to do it? I said, once I earn some money, etc. And his point was, dude, you can do all that, but once you have your family, you can't afford to have different standards of life for them. Maybe you will say you'll eat in the roads and stuff, and that really stuck me. So I said, okay, now it is, put in my papers, came back and started this company called N Paradigm with a few of my other founders. Where we did a lot of work with senior managers. Then when we came to frontline sales, we realized learning that way for managers and learning for frontline sales teams are very different. So then we kind of started another company called Sharpsell, where the whole idea is on enabling frontline sales teams across multiple industries. So that's where we are. Yeah.
Thank you, Arun. So getting back to the question, I would address Mr. Ghosh, Mr. Anjan Ghosh with it. How has the pharma market landscape changed in the last 5 years? What kind of innovative multi-channel, multi-contact interactions approach with HCPs helps in strengthening traditional sales techniques and beyond?
All right. So to respond to that, let's take it step back. And the assumption that we are operating is that because of internet and because of huge amount of information flow, the so-called doctors, the HCPs who practice, knows everything. And when we go with that assumption, we make a huge mistake to start with. They are practitioners. And what exists in the internet or in the space of so-called knowledge are enormous amount of data. Now, how does one translate that kind of data to my clinical relevance? Remains the challenge for every practitioner, they admit it or not. It's not their cup of tea. They have never been trained in that kind of fashion. So, what happened in the industry that we all started believing doctors knows everything, so just go and promote the brand and the molecule. That led to a kind of complete downfall of this so-called medical representatives into medical salesmen or pharma salesmen, right? The amount of knowledge that the industry holds is enormous around the single molecule that we market, right from the dosage to drug interactions, to storage conditions, to contraindications, to side effect, and especially the patient profiles. If I have a kidney problem, how do I adjust my dose? This entire knowledge lies with pharma industry and not with practitioners. And that is where we downgraded the whole thing, saying, "Aap se brand bata do." Sorry to say that we have been responsible for this. And therefore we now believe that to influence a doctor, we need multiple ways of, that will never happen. It's a knowledge industry, and having an interaction at this level is very critical. कि आप बोल लो उसके बाद मैं बोलूँगा, this kind of confidence we don't get it to the reps today. At our days, and when I started, we had a 45-day training where I knew my product better than any bloody doctor did. We don't empower them there, and therefore today we face this crisis that I am not able to engage with my doctors appropriately. So we are trying to say that, look, there will be multiple ways to convince them on the brand. It is the same thing as an internet, right? That you can feed in information, but how to synthesize that? How to make it relevant to my patient? How to make it relevant to that particular patient is an expertise which the medical reps had. And we need to bring back that glory for that. And it's not because there are generics and all. Everybody can do that. Because every time there is a patient, there is a new problem that's being faced. Each patient at every different time is a different element. Right? Today a drug can act on me and give me a result in terms of reducing blood sugar or reducing fever. Tomorrow it will not act in that same dosage. Why? We don't debate on these kind of scenarios, and therefore we say that medical reps brand promote karega, bas khatam. I'm sorry that I'm using a bit of Hindi, that's the language that we all are comfortable, I guess. But so when we are talking about using multiple channels, we need to understand what is the need there. What are we trying to solve for? Is it a share of voice? What are we trying to solve for when we talk about these things? If we have not equipped our reps, practitioners have not moved from where they were 40 years ago. Even till today, if I ask them what is the contraindication of a molecule, many of them will never be able to tell me. Right? What is the drug-to-drug interaction that has? Will it work with phentoin? Will it work with warfarin? Should I reduce the dosage? If there is a creatinine issue, what should I do? 90% of the physicians don't know these answers. And they don't ask it because we don't tell it. And this is where we are. So, to come back to that basic question now. In 5 years' time, what has changed? Nothing has changed in my understanding. What changes has happened at the industry level. We have been constantly degrading and making a representative into a salesman. And these are strong words, right? And possibly very contrary to how we think about the industry.
I don't know, that I think we'll kind of
I'll leave it to the panel no, I know that because I have had interactions multiple times in multiple forums. Usually these days I don't go there. But this is how it has. So saying that, look, do I really need, as you said, what were the two things? Multi-channel and multi-contact interactions to solve what? That becomes the basis of it, right? Is it really share of voice? Are we doing persuasive selling? Or are we building convictions? If it is conviction building, it will not help. If it is persuasion, then like in ad industry, you keep bombarding and maybe one day they will pick it up, the brand. So that's my take on this. I think I spoke for too long.
Taking this ahead, Mr. Balasubramanian, if you would like to add to it.
So what has happened in the pharma landscape in the last 5 years is, we spend, we're trying to, churn out these guys with less of the sales training more of the product training. The amount of hours that I've observed, largely the time to build the selling skills are limited compared to the amount of product training that we want to deliver to them. And that's where the whole challenge starts, because most important part of interacting with customers is empathizing, understanding them, profiling them. If you don't do these things, you are not in a position to become an effective seller. Even when we were reps, I know how we went across the journey of learning the products. Of course, there were guys who stood last in the class and there were guys who stood first in the class. But the guy who stood last in the class was the most successful salesperson, largely because he understood customers. So that's one of the most important gap that I feel has emerged in our training cycle. If that is taken care of, that will make a lot of difference in terms of acquiring the other part. Second is the language itself, the comprehension. The reps who come in today, they do not have the amount of comprehension we probably had when we were 30 years back in terms of language. The language of spoken English, language of the medical terminology that was imparted to us at that point of time, which helped in understanding first what is being taught and then translating it to the customer in a very, very lucid manner, because the translation could be in any language. As he was rightly saying, हम हिंदी में बात करते हैं, मराठी में भी, we used to sell in Gujarati. That was not a problem. But because we understood it, we were able to translate it. Third thing that is happening is that in the modern time, I feel that, perception of the doctors. Perception of the doctors has changed the way they are interacting with the reps. So that perception cannot be changed in a day. I remember there was a time when they were welcoming us because they felt that these guys were knowledgeable. Today they feel that, they're going to take a portion of my time which they're going to dedicate to the patients. And that is exactly where we should understand the time value, because as a pharmaceutical company, as a pharmaceutical rep, there are multiple touch points a rep has got when he meets a customer. It is not only in the chamber. Everybody feels that I'm selling in the chamber, but there are multiple touch points which you can have. Each has got a time dimension, and each has a time dimension value and the amount of communication that you can deliver in that period. If that is clearly understood, what you do in clinic, what you do when you meet him across in the road, what you do when you meet him in a CME, what you do when you meet him in a conference, so your entire sales build is, can be structured. And also the fact that, we are not mapping. I've seen, we are in software today. When I ask somebody, is doctor ki personality kya hai, inke interest kya hai, what does he like, what does he dislike? That is not something that is getting mapped. So we have an MCL with a lot of doctor data. This qualification sitting at this time, doing at that time. We used to have it. We used to know our customers, otherwise we would have not grown. But the translation of the data into a proper understanding is also what has changed. So I feel that there are touch points. There are multi-touch points which needs to be clearly understood and training imparted to understand that यहाँ पे क्या बोलना है, कहाँ पे क्या बोलना है. Okay. So we always, in our own family system have the same method. We say that पहले घर में जाओ तो पहले पैर छू लो, ये इतनी बात करो, अभी मत बात करना, उसके बाद कुछ बात करना, उसके बाद कुछ बात करना. That kind of system, okay, is the right kind of, I feel, technique which will help in interacting with HCPs.
Sure. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Monga, please go ahead.
I just wanted to respond. Very good points, and therefore I couldn't resist myself. One point that Anjan talked, I have a counterpoint there. You see, today we are dealing with Gen Z, and you look at the way our learners have changed. They don't just learn only by lecture. They actually have a lot of pre-learning. Because they have access to so many things. I think we must also realize the same thing is true for our customers as well. Same thing is true for our doctors as well. They also have now access to a lot of information that they don't need a rep to come into their clinic and provide them. But yes, they would want access to the information. And hence the case for multi-channel, contact points is what I feel. That is my view there. Second thing about that, I want to put forth a cause and effect point about training, that we are spending more time on product training and lesser on skills training, actually. Not just selling skills, even other skills, interpersonal skills as well. Last 5 years, what has changed? COVID happened. Everybody went online. Everybody went digital. We used to spend crores of rupees on training people in classroom. We went to digital, almost zero cost, except for the infrastructure that we had to build. We are out of the pandemic, but the organization doesn't want to now spend money. एज सिंपल एज दैट. शेर के मुंह को खून लग गया, अरे यार जितना डिजिटल कर सकते हो उतना डिजिटल करो. एंड वी नो डिजिटल में कॉग्निटिव एरियाज यू कैन focus on. Knowledge can be imparted easily, but building skills is not so easy. You know, just by just providing e-learning to people. So you need a facilitator, you need practice, role plays and all that. And I think that's one of the reasons we are not doing that. We are not doing that enough is what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
We are yet to move out of COVID in our minds.
And just to add to Harsh, right, am I allowed? Yeah, correct.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
sir.
Harsha said very right point, and he has summarized correct what Anjan and Shriram has said. And in fact, you see that organization need to understand, and this debate keeps on happening for the last 70 years, that training is an investment, correct, or training is a cost. And that is why that point of this thing, that calling people back to the classroom, that is actually the investment on the people for creating a better salesperson. Second point, Shriram, which you have said very rightly, and I think Sharpsell people should also keep a focus on that, what clue Shriram has given, that we are measuring in our matrices that the effort level of our medical rep, that how many calls he has done. From SFE also, correct, we keep on looking into that what is the effort level, and by just changing the effort level, how much sales he can generate. And we try to allocate some kind of percentage to the overall sales performance to that. But somewhere, correct, we are missing out with this technologies, correct, can we think something about, correct, which gives him a instrument like your Matrix, that new, that Matrix movie, which I'm sure that which all have watched in 1999, right, that this is the personality of doctor, isn't it? I have been taught that this is how you need to handle, but now his context is different right now. So in that particular moment of time, what kind of behavior I need to display with him? And that is where, correct, when he was talking about the personality profiling of doctor. Many companies have taken a lot of project in last 20 years on profiling the customer, but it remains in the project stage only, isn't it? It was not converted, correct, in a large scale kind of a thing. And that is where I think that technology can help a lot in understanding that same kind of product pitching to a 6 different kind of personality doctor, how you can do that. And I'm sure that is going to help. Thank you very much for bringing that.
Thank you.
If I can add something here.
Yes, sir.
So it's the question which is very, very important.
That is a very vital question.
Very,
actually.
very
It's been
vital
a foundational question to your
Yeah.
further questions.
Absolutely.
It's difficult to resist that question.
You know,
Yes,
I
Mr.
would take you when in fact I started learning about this industry maybe around 35 years before. What one thing is missing in this change is that the respect. The respect in the HCPs is not the same which we used to get it before 35 years. The reason could be any, because you know, the entire process doesn't change. Today, that time also there were doctors, today also there are doctors. That time there were chemists, today also chemists. That time I remember to make 10 to 15 calls in a day was a real challenging time. Today, they go to one particular complex and get around 5-6 calls. Of course, the competition has increased. That time the competition was less, but the companies as well as reps has also increased. Visual aid, Dr. Tarun Gupta has introduced maybe before 40 years. Even today we are using it. So no much change. What is changed is the respect level. And to be more precise, as you were asking about last 5 years. Before COVID, during COVID and now. I'm sure everybody was talking about the COVID time was a no-touch treatment. You know, people, even HCPs were not allowing, even patients also. They both the side, it was a scary moment. Then, of course, the touch and treat started post-COVID. But that human touch, you know, which we were talking about, I don't know, a little bit compromised. Talking about today, as on today, the scenario is, if I am talking about the market change, and we all know that the change is required. That's the only permanent solution. Here also it is changed. How? If I talk about the market, which earlier, if I am talking about the corporate hospitals or the trade, the corporate hospitals today, even after COVID, maybe it's almost more than 3 years, they are not allowed. Means the sales professionals are not allowed even today. In most companies, it is not allowed. Even the government hospitals, the medical colleges, the sales professionals are having difficulties, or it's very challenging time. I consider this as the opportunity as well as the challenge both. Opportunity means the corporate hospitals, if I talk about Mumbai Hospital, Hinduja Hospital, Nanavati, or even in Delhi or in metros, it's difficult to get entry today. So that's where this particular kind of forums will definitely help to strengthen that what kind of skill set is required, as Mr. Harsh or Sushil was talking about. That it's not only the product knowledge. Of course, there are many more things which is required, wherein we need to train them, we need to upgrade them, we need to upskill them, so that they are able to match the requirement versus the reality. You know, in the hospital, what is the scenario today? That around 20-25% of the companies are allowed. The brands which are available there, that's the only competition. Usually, otherwise it is 100% competition. But you know why I said opportunity? Because you have now only 30%. If you get an entry, as you know, somebody was talking about the touch point changed. Yes, in the corporate hospitals, because I worked in the field to have a connect even after having the experience in the training for so many years. It is very difficult. You know, the touch point has been changed. It is not no more a consultation room. People are meeting at the parking, people are meeting at the hotels or even at the CMEs. If I have a connect with the particular doctor, I may get an entry. But again,
so just a quick question there.
I'm sorry.
You know, so when you talk about corporate hospitals, so is the expectation that the MR is going to establish relationship and make an entry, or the company is going to say, hey, we have to crack these hospitals and across hierarchy we'll have to work together? Because how much of this onus should be on the MR? Because at the end of the day...
Yeah, I was about to come to that point. You know, when I'm talking about MR, this challenge is not only to MR. It is to the entire pharmaceutical industry. All the senior people sitting at the corporate office, including the training team, SFE team, or maybe product management team or HR, right from selection to the development role. Everybody is, you know, rather responsible for this change.
Sure.
You see the quality which we used to get, even everybody was talking about. I remember before 30 years, doctors used to give a huge amount of respect. Today, I don't know, it is compromised a lot. When we go to the field, it's very difficult to get that respect. So I think this forum, this kind of discussion should help to get back that respect, which is very, very, I mean, I'm not saying that it's so easy, it's very difficult, but it is not impossible.
So maybe to take that forward, yeah.
No, so you can ask a
Ma'am,
question.
just a moment before I come to you. Mr. Ghosh, Ashish Ghosh wants to say something. He's been waiting, so please,
It's
sir.
fine, it's fine. I think...
I'm sorry, I've
think the
taken much
no,
time.
I think the question is...
First question, we'll go back happy.
I think the question is so tempting, so everyone is wanted to answer. And you can understand, all of us sitting here having 20, 30 years of experience in the industry, started at a rape, and emotional, bondage with being in rape, being in clinics are very, very high. See, look, I will, going to add a little different perspective here, right? If the question, what the question you have asked, right? Ki in last 5 years, whether is there any transition in the pharma sales, right? What is right, that's a different question. But whether the transition happen or not, I think transition happen. Most of the organization today, from being an individual or being an in-clinic detailing, they have they had a transitions and they have shift. There is a clear shift from being in independent or in clinics to multi-channel, multi-touch point. Now the question which Anjanda asked, whether it is relevant, whether it is helping, right? That's $1 million questions. But that it's happening somewhere it is coming, there are too much of intellectualization happening and it's happening. I have a little, different approach in this regards. If you ask me whether it is helping, I would not say, we need to eliminate the in-clinics or in-person detailing you cannot do in pharma industry. That is going to remain core. See the touch point, in person, when you are talking a doctors to person, that is going to remain core. Training, educations, coaching, guiding, making him more effective, more efficient in clinics, that cannot be, 40 years, 80 years, 20 years. If you go any review meeting of pharma industry, I think the whatever may be added 10 years before, 20 years before, but basics, KPIs of call average, coverage, frequencies remain same. And that's, if you ask me, even next 100 years, not going to change. But whether multi-channel and touch point is going to help, I think it might going to help. Not by, directly reaching to the doctors, because if you ask me, hardly doctors are, even if you send 100 mails, in our Gmail mailbox, we have, hundreds of mail. How many mails we open, we don't know, right? But how we can equip a medical rep to identify a doctor's need, or doctor's, maybe specific need, and probably, I'm just giving a context here. I had a discussion with a doctor today, and doctor, asked me some questions of, maybe some topic he want to answer. In what happened earlier days, maybe it will take me 15 days time to reach out to the doctors again and giving or providing him the data which he want. But today, in this, digital era, we have another tool. By that tool, I can reach out to the doctors by saying that this specific data you want, I have provided you. Or probably, even if the doctor is not asking, during the discussion, I have identified a need from a doctor. Doctors, maybe his need behind the need is this. And maybe I can use my, platform tomorrow, coming back, or without, wasting 15 days or waiting 15 days, I can provide the data and I can maybe touch the doctors. And that can be help and added, but cannot replace the old concept, but can be added, multi-purpose and multi-channel. That's the point I want to make.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, yes, please go ahead.
So, no, I think it's very important. I think everybody who's saying things is saying that with a lot of experience backed up. So it's important. But so what's happening also is, while we might get very emotional thinking the respect we had, or whenever 30 years, 20 years, look at the number of reps and the way that they have changed. Look at the number of brands that get launched every year in the market. So there is so much noise. Now what we have to figure out is, out of this noise in the system, how do you make that meaningful connection so that your brand gets an identity? You go to a doctor's clinic today, there are 30 people waiting outside. Does he recognize your rep is what we have to ask ourselves. What do you do to make it meaningful? So I would not say respect lost, not lost. There are people who are very valued. What is the value proposition of my rep when you go to the doctor? If you had a value proposition, so the respect was there. You create a value proposition today, you will get that respect. And it will be very, very diverse. So I have a team member who's selling a 2 rupees a day therapy, and I have one person who's selling a 1 lakh rupees a month therapy. So as learning teams, we will need to understand there's customization, hyper customization that we need to do in our training programs. In chronic therapies, the approach has to be different. Acute therapies, approach has to be different. You have to look at why, if I'm not able to answer as a training head, why the doctor should listen to me. It's difficult for the rep to figure out why they should listen. But parallelly, as we say this, we will also have to appreciate that the way we are banking today has changed. I was waiting for a cab. I don't have the patience to wait for 5 minutes. Does my learner have the patience to wait for my calendar to come to them ki 1 mahine baad training aayegi? That era is gone. So we should accept and embrace it. We should not be in denial and say ki nahi yaar, classroom and digital have to complement each other. They cannot, it has to complement, because that's what is making sense to your learner. Your digital could be a catchment area for getting them on the hook and then getting them to a program. But if you don't do that, it will not make sense. So I think in how the landscapes have changed, parallelly the way was being said, there's a CRM tool, your learning tool, they all need to talk to each other. The doctor's gone to a conference, your person has to get that ideation that he's gone, this is the feedback, please go and talk about it. So we cannot live as, the functions have become so much more integrated. The learning and these SFE and all of them are, helping that rep, they are all servicing the rep so that they can go and get time. So I think we need to complement and work together as the back-end team to ensure that when a movie is made, so much goes into getting that actor to act. So these departments need to talk to each other well, and I'm sure the value proposition can be created, because we are all giving market-beating growths. We are doing something right for us to grow well. So we need to figure out that कैसे हो रहा है, ऐसा तो नहीं कि respect भी नहीं, कुछ भी नहीं, फिर भी हर brand बिक रहा है, ज़्यादा अच्छा हो रहा है.
I suppose, Harpreet, what you touched beautifully was that how can digital way of training complement the classroom training. What we also need to understand is, post-COVID, what has changed is that the customer also expects the same. He probably didn't had a avenue of getting digitally connected, which he feels now as a good platform. Now, that's the HCP persona. Not everybody would believe it, but there is a good section of HCPs who believe that digital could be a good way to connect. And why do I waste my time in that premium time where I could meet customers or patients interacting with a pharmaceutical representative, or do it in a spare time while shaving, while driving? So that's the way. So if we understand the customer personas well, multi-channel is something that's going to stay. And you need to optimize your proposition there. Means rep or a medical, the reason they were called medical reps earlier was, if you look at the word medical representative, they were considered as somebody who could represent the medical science bit of it. Now we're talking about sales rep. Means the terminology has changed because we have made it more postman call. But if everything be constant and we have the same quality of medical representatives representing the pharma industry, we would still need a multi-channel approach, because that's the way the world has transformed. We can't stay with just the physical touch points. That's definitely very, very important, and that's specifically what has changed post-COVID.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Mr. Verma, you wanted to add something to
just
it.
Two quick points. Let me take you all to the COVID era, where we all adopted to digital platforms, and we all said that digital is the way forward, right? And then came the word phygital. No, it is not going to be digital. It has to be physical plus digital, right? And as soon as COVID is gone, all the doctors said, hey, please come and meet me. I want an individual to come and meet me. I want a human being. Because I talk about human being because I'm a student of psychology. Let's understand this. There was a survey, and this data is shared by a doctor a week ago to me. And in this survey, 85% of the doctors said, I want the medical rep to come and meet me, right? And the same survey wherein the question was asked, what about the messages, the digital content we share with you? They said 90% of the thing I don't even go through. So I'm giving you a different perspective, right? I want the same communication to be conveyed to me by a human being, right? And this is something which is in contrast to what we are understanding. I don't mean to say that we should not use digital platform, but when we are planning for a digital platform, let us understand even the digital platform is going to be used by a human being for a human being. And that is very important, right? Otherwise we forget that digital is something which is, we do abracadabra and things will start happening. It doesn't happen that way. Because digital platforms also are going to be used by a human being for a human being, right? I mean, it's very simple. Mr. Sushil, you were there, no? People Matters, okay? And I was so surprised. 95% of the people, they were talking about AI. We all talk about AI, huh? Unfortunately, somewhere, where is human intelligence? Why are we forgetting human intelligence in between? Because that is very important. We have to remember that. Right? So, like most of us agree, there has to be a smart mix of digital and human intelligence also. And that is, I think, according to me, is the way forward.
So while we talk about what has changed from, let's say, our input parameters, maybe I'll just want to move to what exactly is, I think you started with that saying, what is the expectation of the HCP on the other side? Because while the inputs have changed, COVID, hundreds of reasons, maybe it could be cost, convenience, whatnot. So there was, let's say, a time period of about, let's say, 1.5 years where HCPs said, boss, don't come, for whatever reason, for convenience, this thing. I'm super stressed because every Tom, Dick and Harry, who knows I'm a doctor, wants advice on COVID. So people said, don't come to me, and things still moved. It's not like world stopped, things happened, anything that was critical continued happening. So what has changed from an HCP's perspective today? Has that changed? Because again, the starting point is we hear that COVID pehle yahan tha, then something changed, now we are, easing back to our old ways, etc. So maybe, Paragji, we'll start with you. So what do you think the HCP's perspectives are today in terms of the change that they have seen? So what is their expectation, and has anything changed at all? Or
I think, HCPs, what they were expecting earlier and now, no much change. What they expect is a kind of services. They may expect the kind of the quality brands. They do expect the regularity and the sincerities, and whenever it is required, we are supposed to give them. The mindset is little bit changed, according to me. It is now more of a commercial than the professional.
So
In
can you
certain
elaborate
cases,
on
not in all cases.
No, can you elaborate on that, please?
Uh,
Or if it's understood, we'll move on.
Are you talking about kickbacks here?
No, it is not like that.
Not like that.
No, but also see COVID.
Yeah, please carry on.
No, no.
Mr. Jha,
So what you want, accept. See that, sorry ma'am. See the commercial perspectives, right? The overall, medical representatives or a pharma industry or a pharma sales guy and the HCPs. Again, I'm talking about the relationship has been changed. Earlier it was purely on, because I consider the pharma professionals, I divide into or three categories when he was talking about the profiling. The one is the kind of the people who are personal, the doctors who are very, very personal. The other one, if I have to go deeper into it, I don't know whether how much time is given to me.
No, so I think we'll keep it to like 1.5 minutes, and I think
yes.
I think now that we're reasonably comfortable with each other, I don't think we should kind of point fingers anymore, and I think we should just keep the floor open. Anybody has a point, please jump in and
Yes.
that
That would work
discussion
otherwise.
would
Yeah,
kind of-
because
yeah.
time is the constraint. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Are you concluding your talk here, or you want to continue?
No, so that's what, the kind of,
See,
social. Yeah.
My point is that what has changed pre-COVID and after COVID among the means that preference of the HCPs, correct? That is the question. See, now they are also looking for that the speed, correct, in terms of whether it is a diagnostic kind of a thing, correct. When now they are well prepared that when a patient is coming, correct, he must be coming to him after reading something about his disease on Google. So he is now mentally prepared that he need to do some kind of that myth busting also, correct, if he has got a other way of information. Third important point, correct, which has changed is that and that is good for HCPs, correct, and from the point of view of the patients also. Now patients are asking very well-informed question to HCPs, correct, in terms of that how the medication has to be taken, correct, what will happen, sir, if the side effects are there, correct, how to handle that. So now the patients are becoming more and more informed, and that is making HCP's job much easier. Otherwise, many of you will agree with me, correct, the kind of questions which were asked by the patient was that ये खाना खाने के पहले खाना है दवाई कि खाना खाने के बाद, ठंडा पानी कि गर्म पानी, those kind of questions correct, which may irritate a HCP. But now patients are asking well-informed questions. Okay, sir, if this happens, then what I should do?
So,
Right.
so do any of you see that translating to? So how does that translate to what is? How can we add value? Let's say as farmers.
See,
What does it mean for the industry, and how are we
Correct.
kind of adapting to
Yeah,
this?
here, correct, you see, that is why you see that many of my colleagues will agree here, correct, their marketing departments are working a lot in terms of creating the patient education material, and that has also become a multi-touch point with the doctors, correct, where they are saying, ki, sir, if this particular disease is happening, we have a complete website, isn't it, which you can ask your patient to go and visit, and here you see that we are having a counselor also, we are having this kind of information, and actually that is creating a differentiating point for HCPs. Many a times, correct, in a metro city, correct, when you visit doctors now, correct, a diabetologist or a cardiologist or a pulmonologist, isn't it, their first question is that Cipla, Lupin, Alchem and these companies are having their website. Is there anything, correct, which I can advise my patient to go see and then come to me? So that is creating a differentiating point, and that is where that you guys as a technology expert, isn't it, can help us, help means the doctors and the pharma companies, that how you can create those kind of an interactive content, correct, or create a kind of a library where every company can go and advise to the healthcare providers that this is how correct you can make more aware society there. I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Thank you so. Yes, ma'am.
More common disease. Like, you know, see, I represent not a very critical care segment. I represent.
So your mic.
Oh, sorry. I represent a, a segment which is aesthetics, cosmetics, plus clinical dermatology. So it's not a very critical care segment. So here, even the consumer have a lot of questions, right? So, even if I am using a, moisturizer, what kind of moisturizer I should, what kind of skin. So then the, AI, which for patients. And again, here we need to be very careful, not to the directly to the consumer. If a doctor, he feels, if a HCP, he feels, this AI tool you can use if you have further any question on how to take care of your regime, right? So he can provide that, facilities. That can just want to add on the what Mr. Sushil
And
said.
Ashish, can you take the
Yes, sir.
pattern from?
Please go ahead.
You see that nowadays in the chronic disease segment like your diabetology and cardiology, doctors have started prescribing app to the patient, isn't it? And what that app does, that a patient is forgetting about his medicine regime,
Reminders.
isn't it? So it reminds him. Correct. And then the continuous, you can say that the therapy monitoring and other thing, and if something goes wrong, he can directly, with the help of your Apple watches and other thing, he can share those information. And I think that is where, correct, a higher level of AI. And in fact, many of my colleagues will agree here that even in your American Diabetes Association, they have started publishing papers on that, how the technology is helping the better patient adherence toward the medicine, isn't it? And that is, I think, a big area of revolution which is going to come, where HCPs have started looking technology as a partner with the patient.
Yes, ma'am. You wanted to add
Actually,
something?
interestingly, 3 days back in this room itself, we were sitting with a group of chest physicians and asking them, we were having a fireside chat on topics like these, and we were asking them what is the relevance of people in pre-COVID, post-COVID. So COVID time, what happened is doctors realized life chal rahi hai without reps. So do I really need to give all of them time? So they've started saying, I might not need to give everybody time. I'll give the best people, or people I can segregate whom I want to give time and whom I don't want to give time. What Sushil said is so critical, because patients are so much more empowered today. So people don't expect you to go and sell brands only. They expect you to sell an offering on this is, and so what impact it has had for the industry is, I cannot go and just market a brand. I have to go and offer what is it that I'm doing to either empower the doctor's knowledge or to help them manage patients better. How does that QR code over there get scanned? And my person needs to navigate between my iPad so that my SFE matrix doesn't fall out, but to also know so they will have to be much more efficient to give a patient offering, to be able to do a clinic, to be able to do a CRM activity, to be able to do all of that, and to have the softer skill to go and to go and pitch that, articulate that well, and have that that basic skill set to understand, to use the CRM tool as well as the patient education tool as well as all of that. So I think the skill set required by MRs have actually been upgraded. Correct. If you are wanting to add value, because only brand pitching, there are 100 brands, you will get 1/100th of the sale business. So if you want to be a market leader, you will have to add value in your call.
And the expectations have increased.
Yeah.
Much fold.
At the same time, initially when all this started, correct, brand managers and the pharma companies and we as a trainer also used to think that this is an additional service. Correct. Now, this is becoming the differentiator. Okay, that how fast my website is working, what kind of the data, what kind of the other things which is being generated. And I just anticipate that in next 6 months or 12 months period of time, in the visual aid also, correct, this is a technology which is being used for the better patient management. And then afterwards the brand will come. Then you prescribe this. So this kind of a thing, correct, may happen.
Before we just...
Bharat,
yes, sir.
Because, I cut myself in, so I just can add what Madam said and Sushil said. helping the patient as a partner. HCPs are actually looking for certain softwares, wherein if it's diabetes, then this tablet has to be taken today. Have you taken it? A diet chart, or the kind of changes in the blood sugar, and accordingly the diet plan has been changed. The kind of softwares can be designed, and of course it is their expectation. I categorized them into 3 categories. One is the senior most doctor who has a good number of patients and who would like to maintain that patient's flow. There are middle and the junior most. Now coming to the junior most, those who have just completed, their master degrees into a specialization or super specialization. I was aware about one of the, initiative was taken by Alkem, that they were catching them young people right from their college days. I don't know whether I'm correct or not, so she will correct me.
Sushil wanted to put it better, but put it more nicely, but yeah, I think
So, what is that Catch Them Young campaign was, it was there with Cipla as well as in GSK also, very long back. So here, what is on today, doctors are actually, expecting certain softwares, like if I have completed my MD and in a specific segment, say diabetology or neuro, onco, cardio, do I have to start my practice as a private practitioner? Do I have to join a corporate, or do I go and join as a consultant in one of the biggest corporate house, or maybe a government office, or my own setup? So for that, the kind of services can be provided by the pharma industries along with the PMT members and the overall corporate office.
No, but is something like that happening today where, for example, let's say, we'll take diabetes example. Today you say, you know what, you use Libre, which is Abbott's product, and anybody in diabetes, you get data out, and there are diametizen tools that help you. So, for example, let's say you want to use Abbott's, authorized tools, authorized apps, then you pay money. There's something called, I think, GIMP, which helps you do that. So, question is, are we talking about tools like this where you can go tell doctors saying, you know what, oh, yahan se aap kharido, ye, or is there something happening on these lines?
See,
So
they actually want the innovation. Like if I talk about, the previously it was insulin, the bovine insulin, then porcine insulin, then human insulin. Now it is pen, then it is a patch, maybe a nasal insulin. They want a continuous.
No, I agree. That's
that
from a product perspective.
That is one part.
I'm talking about when we speak about saying we need to give them some additional tools, or we need to do something more. Is there something? Can we just talk about some examples
I'm not sure
which
we're
are
talking
beyond?
about what doctors need or what we need to do for our.
No, I think he was referring to what doctors are
HCPs.
expecting through the HCPs. So I was just wanted to know if there are some examples that we have where HCPs are going above and beyond the product in terms of using technology to help doctors.
So I can quote an example. See, beyond the pill solution is something very common these days, and HCPs expect as was elaborated by everyone. Beyond the pill solution is something that everyone expects. Now you can probably wrap it in any and multiple forms. Given that the India startup segment is booming, you have multiple options in the pharma industry, right from diagnostic, early screening, and sort of these things. I don't know whether you would have heard about it. There is a company called Cure AI.
Yes.
Now, you know how it helps, and it completely transforms of early screening for, it could be TB, it could be lung cancer, it could be multiple things. So these are things which are not only appreciated by HCPs in particular, but they also get appreciated by corporate clients, where they appreciate that there is a value add that brings into the customer, keeping patient at the center. And this is just one example, but there are multiple examples where you see these sort of, I would not call app, but these are digital screening solutions which probably bring in, and could be screening solutions, could be post the pill solutions, could be anything. But they're rampantly getting used, and they're very well accepted.
Point of
Arun.
contact devices, diagnostics,
but
smart inhalers,
Arun.
feedback, all of it.
Yeah, sorry.
Sure. Yes, sir.
The only thing that what we are asking is two different questions. One is the expectation from a pharma company or a medical company. That's a broad bandwidth. And what is he expecting from the medical representative is the narrow bandwidth on which you should actually land on, because 46% of the doctor's prescription influence still today remains a medical representative.
Correct.
The other 54% is, we have to reach out with these tools and that tools, because it's changing. But still he says 46 guy, because when people wait outside, he gets the patient gets a message even today that I'm an important doctor. from there starts the psychology of why he wants people outside his chamber, which he did not want before. During pandemic, he think I can get away with it, but now he feels I still need people outside my chamber. Then when the guy comes in, walks into his particular chamber, there is one great expectation that is there from a medical rep. It is very pinpointed, sharp communication. If you are making it relevant to me, okay, as to where I should use your brand or your product, okay, leaving aside all the things, because you know all those areas of what a corporate does with a doctor is a different ball game. But from him, he expects whether the product is truly available, because he values his own prescription for his patients. So one of the main reasons he feels that when a rep walks in, he should be able to see that whether the prescription is being honored, whether he is happy about the volume that is delivered. That's the first talk point. And then how sharp you can be in terms of adding every call. You are actually increasing the confidence of the doctor's prescription in that particular product. So if that is the core point, then how does technology or training or whatever help him? Okay, and I have observed one very important thing. Sorry, all colleagues already have transcended. Between strategy, between marketing, between sales and training, the sync sometimes goes off. We want to say only this much. When I started, I was recently talking to some guys, we started with a poor, communication principle saying that PC, PD सिखाओ. Ultimately, doctor fever देखता है तो paracetamol लिखता है, okay. ये देखता है तो वो लिखता है, and then sub-segmented in saying that okay, you got this and plus this and plus this, then this is the product. That has somehow got killed because there is a lot of verbose when it is coming to communication too much. So how do we get that so pinpointed that he feels मेरा time का इसने value किया, बर्बाद नहीं किया, उतना time है उतने में सही communication दिया. How does that happen?
Yes, so to take his point little ahead, there is a management funda, JIT, just in time. I mean, this is where a platform like, yours, AI platform, wherein just in time information available with my medical rep and which is getting conveyed to the HCP. Because both the parties, they want this only. Is that right? This is what you mean.
So like I have a video library of 2,000 videos, which is under 3 minutes. 24 hours ke under 70% people watch them, what gets uploaded. So we have a Friday premiere, we have all of it. So the way people are learning has changed. You will get them in classrooms for relevant topics, but you will have to give them outside the clinic ki andar jaake baat karo. And that is important, but we will also have to be very cognizant of the fact that the older times of saying that this is your detailing story, ab jaake sab physicians ko yahi bolna hai, sab cardiologists ko yahi bolna hai, might not work, because if all of us like different phones, if all of us like different drinks, if all of us like different, we have to respect that the customer scenario, doctor to doctor is different. You have to make them intelligent to be able to.
But then in this context, everybody has been talking about using AI tools. Different AI tools have different user interfaces. So in that context, you will have to train the HCPs. They have to be trained. Otherwise, they may not be able to understand the UI.
Can I give a little twist to your question? And
Yes, sir. But just before we continue, just before we continue, Mr. Agarwal has a flight to catch, and I would request everyone to please be mindful of the time.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give a little twist to what you were saying earlier, and I think Sriram brought up that point. One of the key reasons, the sync is not there. Today, if you see, training works very closely with SAP and HR. At least there is always L&D many a times as part of HR. So there is a good collaboration there relatively. One department which probably operates in silo is the marketing. And I'm bringing you to one of your next questions. We talk about 30-second call, right? We say, can you train our people and make them proficient in being effective with the HCP in 30 seconds that he or she gets from the HCP? How do we do that when your detailing is 3 minutes? Now, all of us are working on how do we make our rep more efficient in interacting with the HCP in 30 seconds, but the detailing that we have provided him in his iPad is 3 minutes.
Even more.
Or maybe even more.
Yeah.
Depending on therapy and how much do you have to talk and to share
The
with the
love for the
HCP.
content.
I think this is where there has to be collaboration convincing, confrontation, or conceding, end of the day, to customize the whole thing, where marketing has to come into that loop. And we have to work with marketing. Marketing has to work with us. When I say us, means all the other enabling functions like training, SAP, HR, to actually, because ultimately what is to be communicated to the HCP is controlled by marketing. It is my brand, my positioning, my pitch, my campaign, my budget, my targets. And I think they need to be in the loop. We need to bring them into the loop, convince them, confront them, or finally concede and customize the training.
So Anjanta, just to take you back to the first point that you said, where, how does this align with the premise that HCPs don't know much today? Because when we started, you talked about,
We are talking the same thing, that HCPs need to treat the patient is directly related to the products that's being positioned, as he said, right? PCPD is perceived conditions and provincial diagnosis, right? If I'm able to relate there, so why are they not able to do that?
So the question, yeah.
Exactly, that's the point, that how specific we are in terms of communicating as Harpreet said, what is my value proposition, right? The value proposition is that I know this will be the kind of outcomes that your patients will have. If this is the profile of your patient, that they have a problem with their kidneys, they have a problem of, we were talking diabetes, right? So I've been living diabetes all my life through J&J and all of that companies, right? So what do they want? To say that, look, this is the indication, this is where the blood sugars are, and this is what the titrations have to be done, this is how you need to manage. If they are having a fasting, if there is try to say that if I'm going through a Ramzan, how do I titrate my dose? Am I able to communicate these elements, right? If I'm traveling, I'm crossing time zones, how should I change my insulin regime? If as a rep, I'm able to engage there, they will value. Otherwise, I'm just being transformed into a sales rep rather than a medical rep, as it started.
Sure.
But I think everybody has agreed here that those lines have been blurred, right? Medical reps and sales reps, the lines have been blurred with the time as this entire business has evolved.
Or business has not evolved, it's gone down, let me put it that way, right? The Indian pharma market has exploded.
Yes.
Right, that's a function of price, new introduction, there's a function of number of people coming under the treatment net, all of that, economies have changed. So therefore, pharma market has grown to some 220 odd billion crores of rupees. But
My response to your point is that you see that sales rep or medical rep, correct? These are semantics. That time target were there, targets are there today also, right? So let us see this particular thing from this point of view, that it is the relationship building which needs to be trust based. That is the key, correct, which every HCP must be looking for, that which kind of person I should spend my time, because it is always an individual decision that with whom I want to spend my time. And doctor is also the similar kind of a person, correct, where he takes a decision that with which medical representative I want to spend time with. And I'm sure that all my colleagues will agree over here that it is not that we get the time what we want, we get the time what we deserve. Isn't it?
Sorry, my apologies.
Yeah. So here, if a doctor want to spend time, correct, where he just want to talk with the medical representative on the medical therapy, isn't it, where he may requiring more information or the customized prescription kind of a thing. Another, you see that he is also a human being. Throughout the day, 12 hours, he is seeing patient and he is seeing all the long faces. Now he want to spend time, correct, where he can talk to the person for some time, and that becomes the trust building kind of a thing. So am I training my medical representative only on the product, or am I training my medical representative with the help of technology on the relationship building skill also?
So in that context, soft skills are also very important.
See, that is always a debate, correct? It is just like that, leader are made or leader are born. Then ultimately, after 100 years of debate, correct, it is said, let us take a midway, isn't it? So likewise, whether it is a skill, it is this thing, correct? So it is a proportion, correct, which is required.
So this is one of the things that we here across most industries we work with, where let's say you say financial service, let's say insurance is created by some math whiz who's kind of done actuarial work.
Correct.
It's probably purchased by somebody who's earning multiple lakhs, and the person who's selling is, at a completely different, has completely lived in a different world. They don't belong to the same household as the buyer.
Correct.
So let's say even for auto, for example, where people say, hey, I have to sell you a Merc or something, that guy is never going to buy a Merc for all practical reasons, the guy who's selling. So then how can you expect them to understand what somebody else will value? I mean, there are few things that you can teach. So is that a similar problem we are trying to say, my MRs don't belong to the same household as a doctor? And when I say household, I'm using the term a little loosely in terms of saying, do they even understand what these HCPs go through on a daily basis, what they value, don't value, both personally and professionally?
The reason I would disagree with that is, we are talking about healthcare, first thing. So, and by the way, many of the medical representatives, they come from medically educated families. They themselves many of them are themselves pharmacy graduates, so it's not that they don't have the same wavelength, in term or academically they are, very different from the doctors. That's one. Second thing, disease is something which every household has experienced. So they can very well understand the psyche of the patient. See, the point is, the examples that you gave are different.
No, true.
So the guy who's selling a Merc, he might not drive a Merc, right? But the guy who's selling drugs has experienced disease and drugs. So it's a little different scenario, I would say.
No, fair, yeah.
So they don't need to have those diseases to understand.
They've
It's
seen
not
it.
possible.
Yeah.
But I have a different sort of analogy here. A guy who sells a Merc is actually behind the Merc getting sold. We should not forget, he will never drive a Merc, but he's the man who sells the Merc. And that's the reason he's employed. Similarly, the reason you have medical representatives is, though he would not be a doctor, but the expectation, the value that he will bring into a doctor is only when he understands science as well as a doctor does. Means he has to come to the same level to speak to him. And probably that's the missing link that we're talking about. Means have we made it very sharp a call, very close a call, just a brand name, or do we understand how does a value add bring in? What does value add mean to a HCP? We need somebody who can speak science, who can come to his level and have that confidence of speaking. Or somebody called out. Does somebody have the confidence to call out that yes, this is what it is, and I can tell you what you want to know about this drug? That's the value add.
And
If I can just
one
quickly
thing to add to what Ayush said, right? There's just one bit of difference there in my mind between pharma selling and others. Everything else is aspirational for the customer. And for pharma selling, it's a compulsion. We never have budgeted for healthcare, but we have budget for Diwali sweets, we have budget for Diwali clothes, for a Merc, maybe I'm doing up an SIP. But as soon as I fall sick, I feel that, look, it's a curse that has come on me. I never had a budget earmarked for my healthcare. Some of us have got some insurances and things of that nature, but large population over time has never budgeted for healthcare. So they are very different sell.
So just to add, because see, we are in a high science industry. If you do not know your product, you will not have the confidence and conviction. You might never be asked a question, but if I do not know what I'm selling, I will never have the confidence to go and pitch it, okay? But maybe empathy in selling is important. You're in the healthcare area. Consultative selling is important if you are doing therapy shaping and you are the leader in the market. You need to sometimes go and educate people on how therapies are evolving. If you're in a complete Me Too market, आप 100 brands of azithromycin है, आपका 99th है, iron बेच रहे हो, calcium बेच रहे हो, selling skills सही बिकेगा. आप क्या science, what will you talk? But you need to still know कि that composition में या this. So we had something which was of a cough syrup that we launched very late in the market, but it did not have a sweetener, and that was something that had to be told to pitch, but that was a hook. So we will have to see in Me Too markets what is the selling hook. And in scientific markets, how is adherence being built? How are you using portfolio management? Our portfolios are becoming so robust, people do not know 5 products, P1, P2, P3, P4. That's where our training teams and learning teams and support tools need to work.
Yes, Mr. Ghosh.
Yeah, I think, also we need to see, the market dynamics before 40 years was completely different. There was like complexity. If you talk about 40 years before, in every organization, how many divisions used to happen, right? Now today, every organization in one therapy, they are having multiple divisions, right? So the number of medical reps have gone up significantly. And doctors, 24 hours is 24 hours. That has not increased to 48 hours, right? So therefore, they have to manage within this time frame of certain number of medical reps. That's for those all respect and all coming from this limitation of time. Now the question which is back to the organization, the time they used to spend 40 years before. When I joined Unichem 20 years before, I spent 1 month time for a training program. Dada was saying, 40 days. But today, how many days we are spending for, for a train a medical rep? Or how many, times we are calling them and training them? Maybe there is a 3 minutes video or 3 minute, script for, any product the marketeers is giving. But my medical rep has to be equipped to discuss 30 seconds in a particular situation, because this 3 minute script is there because all the doctors are not having same situation, right? You need to have a certain script for every individual doctor. Somebody maybe want composition, somebody monotherapy, somebody that, those, and you have your marketeers have all those scripts, but all those scripts may not be relevant to all the doctors, right? Now the specific relevant topic you need to discuss with the specific doctor by identify doctor's need. That we need to train our rep. And how much time we are spending on that, I think that's the question which all of us need to ask ourselves.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh.
Let me
Yes,
add
Mr.
just
Arun.
one quick point. Again, I'll give you some data from the survey which was done with 500 doctors. So the question was asked by pharma industry companies, why you do not allow our people to detail you the brands which we would like to do. And some of the doctors, they gave very nice answers. One very good answer, I remember. So you do one thing, I take 25, 30 calls per day. You come, you take 25, 30 calls per day, and then I'll ask you whether you will allow them to detail everything which they are detailing. So I'm sure you are getting the meaning. The second answer, how long do you think I should listen to a pre-programmed robot? Now, these are very insightful answers, right? Because generally, my observation is medical rep at large, they have one shoe fit all approach, right? Which doesn't work.
That's very true.
Which doesn't work, because every doctor is looking for what is there in it for me, right? How you are adding value, which all of us said. And if we have a differential approach, which my MRs can do, that is going to help. And they are the ones who are welcomed by most of the doctors. Is that right?
One point I want to throw,
Yes.
Ritesh, with your, is that we are putting the doctor at the center. I want to put the rep at the center and ask one very simple question. Why does he want to learn? This question is never asked when we train. And in my own journey, when I have evolved, I have learned only one thing. I learn when learning gives me success in my career or in my chamber. This is something that we are forgetting, that most of the reps don't want to learn. Today we are struggling. If you see 100 people, you will have, those which are evolving, and even at the area managers level, Mr. Harsh, you will definitely agree that they are not even skilled. They already become area managers because they have got some sales. The contention is learning should make people, it should be such that I feel the need for me to upgrade myself. If that is how the whole concept is evolved, then people will become better. But somewhere, learning is what we want to be delivered to the doctor. I'm sorry, that doesn't work.
Okay.
See, the more relevant question here is that, see, as an adult, everybody wants, everybody
So,
understands.
just a moment, Mr.
I'll take
Agarwal.
leave.
Okay.
My apologies.
No, not an
Time for
issue, sir.
me.
Thank you, sir.
I have to take a leave. My sincere apologies, but really enjoyed. Keep in touch.
Pleasure, Ayush.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bharat.
Yes, sir, please go ahead.
You say that people will learn only correct when they get something out of that learning. Correct? That is known to everybody. But the moot question is that, see, as an industry, correct, what we are doing so that we are bringing that real raw talent which I am talking about, isn't it, which can be polished and then the career can be provided by the industry to them. Today, you see, a IIM Ahmedabad graduate is ready to sell that your soap and oil, correct? But when I go to hire him as a medical representative, he doesn't come to me. And that is where, correct, when people were talking about that the perception, companies, industry, correct, need to spend a lot of thing in terms of creating that the job perception of a medical representative rather than a pure sales rep, isn't it? Because see, pharma industry requires only 5 things as per my understanding, correct, to become successful in this overall business. Number one, that it's the person is meeting the customer regularly or not. That is where your SFE matrices is coming. Second thing, whether he is promoting the right brand to the right customer or not. Number 3, does he is providing all the literature and other inputs which has been meant to know about the therapy, correct, to the customer or not. Number 4th, making the product available. And number 5th is that, is he doing the follow-up? If this 5 thing happens, isn't it, things are there. And just to add on the point, what Harpreet has said, correct, in is that elaborative way that a specialized therapy or a Me Too therapy kind of a thing. 4 pointers there basically, that what am I selling, I need to know, correct, to whom am I selling, I need to know, against what I am selling, I need to know, and how am I selling, that I need to know. If these 4 things we are able to classify with the help of your technology, isn't it? I'm sure that the product will be wonderful.
Thank you, Sam. Coming back to what Mr. Ghosh had said, Mr. Anjan Ghosh, he spoke about being aspirational since we were talking about selling a Merck and a compulsion. In this context, I feel people budget and for aspirational products. Right? They do not budget for healthcare because they are not aware of that situation. So if there is more awareness, I guess.
I don't think it's about awareness. Everybody knows that I will age, I will fall sick. This is not an unknown phenomenon at all.
No.
It is a part of a human life cycle. But still we have never considered that I can fall sick. It's a psychology very different.
Living in denial. Living in denial would be the context here. For
We can say that, but
It happens to other, it will not happen to me.
yes. That is living in denial.
yeah, maybe that, maybe. But I don't even budget for others, right? Like my family, parents, I know they are aging. Do I have adequate covers? No, I feel that's given. Health is a very given thing for humankind.
Okay. Taking this ahead, and just a request again, please let's not delve into very details of every question because we are running short on time.
Sure.
So let's try and be precise with our responses.
You have called L&D people.
We love to hear our
Okay.
It is the
So,
habit, we never stick to the agenda.
I
That's our
guess so.
problem.
How can business directors, sales heads, sales training heads, Salesforce executives, Salesforce associates, and CHROs contribute to developing strategies that will elevate pharma sales?
See, my point is that, to be very pointed and precise, we need to start working on an integrated talent management system, correct? Where the business strategy needs to align with the HR strategy, isn't it? The workforce planning, in my 23 years of career, very seldomly I sat on a table, correct, where we are talking about that this kind of a division is being launched and this is the success profile of a medical representative for this particular division. So creating success profile of salesperson for that particular therapy, and then your entire system should work on from the performance system, management system, to your career development system and the retention system. People do talk a lot about that bringing a star, correct, rather than making a star, right? And then the retention is tossed off over there. Correct. So the key thing the business leader need to think about that the quality of the talent which they are bringing in, correct, what can be done so that a good talent comes
Or
in.
maybe I'll just flip this around. So, can you talk about 1 or 2 examples, because you kind of have been in multiple scenarios before, where you've seen certain gaps that are failed. I think we were talking about, let's say, the marketing not being aligned with, what's happening on the fields. So if you can kind of, some of you can bring examples where you say, I saw this happen. May not take company names, may not take people names, but where you have seen things, in retrospect, it was something that was absolutely missed out or some gaps. If we can give some examples, maybe that will kind of help us understand, and connect to each of our situation better.
I just want to correct one thing. I did not say marketing is not aligned to what's happening on the field. I said we all need to work
Okay,
together.
I understand this, sir, yes.
Marketing is
records.
actually very closely connected with field.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that the enabling functions and marketing need to sit together
Okay.
and work on this. How do you transform the medical rep? How do you enable them with the right tools? That is where marketing normally sits separately, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and to take his point forward, I would like to add only one sentence.
Yes, sir.
Whatever strategy you are working on, keep the MR at the center of that strategy, because he is the one who is going to implement and execute in the field. Because sometimes as a marketeer, I think from my level, okay? As a senior sales guy, I think from my level. Can we think from the MR level? Because he is the one who is going to act, execute, implement at their respective headquarter marketplaces. So that is
Yes.
one very important.
Yes, sir.
There is a clear difference you can see when some marketeers are coming with a strategy who may not be spent time, may not be significant, but some time in field, and I understand and identify the need of the MR. Maybe in a multiple channel or multiple occasion they can understand. Maybe visiting field during meetings and all. If you understand the need, right, and then come up with your strategy, I think that will be more helpful. And sometime if you just try to trust and strategy which may not be relevant from the specific field, sometimes it is go, sometimes it is work, or maybe sometimes it's backfire.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Shah.
Yeah, you were asking about the gap, and what Mr. Harsh said or Harpreet said or Sushil is talking about. The gap is actually when, if I talk about not other department, my own department, the training department. As he said very correctly, how many days the trainings are given. Earlier it was 40 days, 45 days. Today it has gone down. There are very few companies who believes in training. There are very few companies who has an established training department, unfortunately. Otherwise, the bag is given and the boy is been told, go to market and start working it, barring the top 10, 15 companies. Coming to even those top 15, 20, 25, 30 companies, the kind of training which we provide, as she said, the product training is very much important to build up the confidence level. However, just an example, when you're asking about an example, I have a PPI, that is, maybe the acid, blocking agent. Now, in my slide, I could see, my trainer is giving the presentation of maybe 120 slides. Today, there are people, as somebody said, it's only B Pharmacy. No, many companies, they do not have B Pharmacies. There are MComs, there are BComs, there are commerce graduate, arts graduates, even, I don't know. I'm not talking about other companies as well.
I'm a BSc Mathematics with software.
That's what.
Not
That's what.
Yeah.
Correct?
Nowhere close.
So it's not there in pharma, in most companies. So if you see the background of that guy, in addition to that, the another challenge is that guy doesn't know English.
And it
So
might
first
be a
day-
girl. I'm so sorry to say, but everybody's just been saying guy. I am myself back, and I am a DNI advocate for my company.
Don't have any bias.
No.
Don't have any
Every
bias.
doctor is a he, and every rep is a he.
He, okay.
And
No,
we are getting so
I'll
much-
put now onward she. Only.
They-
Only she.
No, and
Okay, I'm talking
that's
about-
something we need to be sensitive. We are all hiring women now. I meet so many of their groups.
Yes.
Lots of those, we are not sensitive enough to understand that we are getting women force into the sales and market of the pharma world, and I just could not hold myself.
Okay,
Not for
Harpreet,
you,
I'll
but
correct.
everybody.
I think we should stop here with this. We'll go ahead. Now, whoever is taking this up, 30 seconds. How can MRs make the maximum impact in the first 30 seconds of face time with HCPs, considering both the expertise of the HCP and the limited time frame for an interaction? 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Your question was longer than 30 seconds.
No, it wasn't.
Working on the pre-calling.
Okay. Anyone else?
This 30-second is not only the MR. Everybody is focusing MR. I will focus, it's not the 30 seconds for MR. It is for the organization's image, his past working experiences, his past visit to the customer, even the inputs provided by the first line manager. According to me, the most important person is not the MR, it is the first line manager. Though, we have given the training for 6-7 days. we are talking about the example of PPI, we talk about H plus K plus ATPase, इसमें से HI आया, Cl निकल गया, उसका HCl
time हो
बना
गया.
है, I am over.
Time.
I'll just add one thing.
But that's not
It's-
matching.
it's
Point
really,
is,
insightful.
what we teach and when he goes back to the field,
Please, we are running out of time.
when he
so
goes
but-
back to the field, it's totally two different things.
So this is
You know
from a
that-
doctor, his name is Dr. Mukesh Gupta, whom again we were interacting with. He said the relationship is 30 seconds to 3 minutes and thereafter.
Okay.
If you're able to do the 30 seconds, you'll get the 3 minutes.
Okay.
So-
So the first 30 seconds of maximum impact. Yes,
Right,
sir.
so to elaborate what she said is, in first 30 seconds, if I can help the doctor understand what I bring to the table, which is going to benefit him or her or the patient, right? The 30-second can become 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Right.
Okay.
Lady patient.
So
as
behind
well.
the 30 seconds is only one very important word which you used to do is homework.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And just one, I will complete in 10 seconds. After homework, I think the discussion of 30 seconds, if he start with something which the doctor can connect, then probably the 30 seconds can become 45 seconds, 1 minute also.
Absolutely, sir. And taking this ahead, considering the evolving dynamics of the life sector, how can a practical sales book be drafted for best practice, especially when MRs bring in their own biases?
I'll take that.
Okay, sir.
So I think ideal playbook will have something that a rep can use for at the moment of need. You know, if I need an information at that point of time, whether it is inside a clinic or waiting outside the clinic, or whether it is during a CME, I should be able to get that information on. It should be there on my tip. So the playbook should play that kind of a part.
Okay. Mr. Bharat?
An ideal playbook should have product information. Second thing, that it should have customer information. Third thing, maybe the demographic of that particular area. Fourth thing is that what are the key matrices, correct, which will measure his performance, right? And the fifth part is that what are the departments which I need to actually connect with when I get into some kind of a problem. So this is how that 5-6 points.
Thank you, sir. Are there any differences between MRs who have traditionally sold generics versus specialty drugs? Mr. Jha?
I would say, you know, the person who has worked in generics, maybe he may be an experienced guy, maybe 10 years, 15 years experienced guy, but may not be so effective in the specialty market or branded market. Even the, you know, fresher, if trained properly, would be able to generate a better, you know, effectiveness than the experienced guy. Because the mindset is totally different. There, in the generic market, it is more so, you know, brand selling to the retailers level, where in here, it is to the customer and who is highly knowledgeable than him. He has to go meet his, you know, the requirement or the alignments, and then be able to promote so that he gets the business. So that's what my point is.
Srinivasa, you was going to say something.
The only limited point.
There is a difference between a generic guy and a specialty guy because the approach is entirely different, right? And there has to be a difference.
So just to ask, so are we saying that in the market we don't really like, when you're looking at, because I think there's a huge rush to hire people who've got some experience on their CV. So are we, as an outsider, let's say, we don't hire, let's say if we are running a specialty company, we don't hire generics and vice versa. Is that a generic assumption we can go with?
No, it's not like that. If the guy is capable, you know, we need to evaluate him.
So it goes on a individual to individual basis.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, but to
But
a great
majority
extent
of the
it
people.
happens. To a great extent it happens.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a guy into cardio-diabeto. I will prefer somebody who is already into cardio-diabeto.
Because they have the knowledge and the expertise in the domain.
Yes.
Okay.
The sales
Not
heads
only
will-
that, he, you know, we wanted to check whether he is a trainable guy or not. Whether if you want to train
In
him
case of
further,
an exception.
of course, if he is even from the, you know, generic market, but if I find that, you know, these are certain abilities are available in him, I can definitely vouch on and then train him further. He can be very well selected for.
Well, I think the sales heads, they have a little bias. You know what Sushil said. It's easier to hire a star than to make a star. So they tend to look for people who have similar experience or academic qualifications, and then they try to do that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Moving on to the last question. How can pharma companies successfully use technology and tools to enhance the quality of product detailing for frontline teams? Starting with you, sir.
You want me to write a case study? 30 seconds?
I'm not giving you 30
So
seconds.
I think
you have a minute or
technology,
two.
like I think we have already discussed that in the beginning. We cannot do away with the technology at all. In fact, technology is the future. There has to be a right balance, is what we really need to understand. We as an organization are using all different types of technologies. We are already using AI for skilling, something like Sharpsell and so forth. And I think there are a lot many other systems and software that are being used, technologies are being used. Technology is the future. I'm a big technology proponent.
Okay.
In fact,
I
for this,
think-
just 1 second.
Yes, sir.
See the technology part, that few of the things which you have been also using and everybody must be using over here. That to help rep, it is not only the detailing aspect, but some section regarding that ask the expert kind of a thing, and a complete, you can say that answers and the database is created, so that whatever the repeated questions which are coming in, correct, he should be able to get the answers of.
FAQs.
Yeah.
Someone wanted to add something here.
Yeah, I think so. What I was saying, AI driven some analytics, if that can help to understand HCP's practice and maybe creating some personalized content, that will be really helpful.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I again am a big propagator of saying technology has to be a part of things because that's where the learner persona is. So I think so we have to, the learning has to be very, very diverse. It has to be in multiple forms. It has to be very, very customizable. The apps and tools that we use is, yes, there are learning tools, there are simulation tools, there are coaching simulation tools, there are detailing practice tools, because you go to physically practice detailing, it will take 7,000, 8,000 people go. Today I'm able to do it in 1 hour, across the country. So it's so important to use those tools well. Parallelly, the integration of my tool with a nudge tool of the SFE, with a CRM tool, so that they have the right insights to be able to go and pitch. So that is all definitely very much happening today. AI-based chatbots, so people know what question comes, how do you go, what do you do, how do you answer that. So that is all already present in the market. What is important is that every business doesn't need everything, and every rep doesn't need it. So we have to also pick and choose and say where to use what. That's something that we should use cautiously, so that it is, and so KPI based learning, all of that is happening today. So a rep is able to see a real-time knowledge skill score. They are able to push the right content to them. So that's all happening, and I think there's where technology is really helping training teams like ours.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Bala Subramanian, you would like to say something on this?
Technology which can give feedback to the reps that whether they are on the right track and whether they are reaching the point where they are becoming effective is that technology that I would look for.
Sure. Sorry, Anjan, you were
Yes,
saying?
sir.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the sense, if we look at any other sphere, right, be it sport, be it, what does the technology do? Help them to analyze better and get better, right? As Mr. Balasubramanian said, can I get, when I'm there out there in the field, and that's where I'm interacting with the doctor, is there a feedback to say that I didn't do it well, I did it well? That's where it will all boil down to. For all other sports, it has happened there, right? The ball turns, the ball swings, the delivery, this, that, all analytics. But when you have to perform, you have to be a Maxwell.
30 seconds I want to throw a challenge to Sharpsell is that, AI, there are many tools. Can you now look at VR?
Yes.
And that's something which I very strongly believe is going to really help skill the medical reps like anything, like creating personas. And I mean, I could replace the entire coaching game. I could change the whole coaching game with virtual reality.
And in fact, there are
In
too many
fact, we
tools
have
available.
used this virtual reality a great extent in our manufacturing sites. Correct? It gives a wonderful
Challenges for
result.
sales.
Selling, and you see that whenever I am also talking to the vendors regarding this, creating a complete, you can say that clinic for us, correct, where we can bring a doctor over there and the question answering session is happening and the person is learning through that. And the biggest challenge is that you are that VR set.
The headset.
Yeah, actually there are a couple of systems in the market where you don't need a VR.
You don't need a VR.
But I think it's the intelligence that really,
Oh, I
Yeah.
just any concluding remarks quickly?
So maybe we'll just go and
Yeah, from my side, that technology is very
so we
important.
started there. So yeah.
And it is going to be the In fact, technology is not the future. Technology is in the present now.
In the present.
Isn't it? Now it is up to us that how best we can utilize, and that is why a strategy has to be created where all the business functions should come together, because our job is to make the MR powerful inside the clinic.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
No, so can we just take a quick concluding remark from everybody? So maybe Paragji.
Yeah, if I am Parag, so
Yeah, so I'm saying
Yeah.
we come in order and we
Okay.
just kind of
So,
take this.
I would definitely agree, that LMS, if I talk about LMS, has a limitations. Of course, there is a need beyond the LMS. Digital platforms can be further developed. I have seen the Sharpsell site, and you are offering certain things. I think that can be further developed, not only for the MR front, but even for the the other side. They are also looking for, and it's not today. Right from beginning, more than 10 years before, a doctor started, using the software wherein they were collecting the data, and now the, brand names are written. They can just click what are the amlodipine brands. He can click it and which brand he wants to prescribe. So, in addition to that, there are a lot of educational camps and all looking to that data. So that can also be further worked on. That's what my point is.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
All that I can say is that we need for the medical rep to become what we are discussing all about over here. The human part of technology needs to work.
Yeah, to take that sentence, transforming medical reps into trusted
Medical
influencers.
influencers.
First of all, the organization needs to trust that medical reps do their jobs well. We were talking before, right? We have started tagging them, geotagging them. We are treating adults with disdain, which doesn't go well, right? I want to know whether he has been in the clinic or she has been in the doctor's chambers. That doesn't work well. So mutual trust is missing, and they find it. So that's one part. AI tools, training them up. It's a job of management. We have taken decision to derogate them. We need to get back there. AI equipments, tools will help. They can accelerate, they can facilitate. But the mindset that we carry for medical reps from the senior management level has to change as well.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Ghosh.
Yeah, I think I'll go to your topic. So how we can transform the medical rep for trusted medical influencer, and of course, your newer innovations, whether it is digital or all those things, is going to be important part. How we can create more impact from those AI initiative.
Mr. Verma?
Yeah, my take is technology is important. It has to be there, right? But we have to remember that business is between two human beings. It is not between technology and human being. And so that we have to remember, right? And then technology can be used as a tool only, right? It cannot replace, the human being which is involved in it. Sure. So that has to be there.
Ma'am?
So I think one is I also heard a lot of reps really we are derogating them. So I think we need to build the pride again. So pride within and maybe differential outside in the way you're going and talking to clinicians.
Yes, sir.
Glad to have the last word. So I think as an organization, like I said earlier, all enabling functions need to come together. This is not just the responsibility of L&D or any one function. So I think each department needs to come together and think about how can we achieve this.
Yeah. Thank you, Sam. So there's going to be a presentation now, and post the presentation, we would like to take some video bites for how you had an experience here, and if you would like to share something. So it's not compulsory, it's voluntary. So if you all could just volunteer for it. So I think that is the last word.
Yeah. So maybe I'll take this. So yeah. So I think first of all, thanks a lot, everybody. I think I hope you found some insights from this discussion. I had a lot of insights, and I think more than insights, I think we had a lot of perspectives. Which where I think sometimes, at least for me, I had a lot of conviction on how certain things work. But to hear, let's say, counter perspectives kind of opened out a few more questions, which again I'm going to go out and seek answers to. But I think this was very insightful for me. So I think so one of the first questions that came up, I think we had a few of us asking this, saying, okay guys, what are you doing here? What is Arun doing here? And So I think initially when we planned this, they said, Arun, आप भी एक panelist जैसा बैठो आप बात करेंगे, and I said, no, I'm not sitting, I don't belong there. While we work in the industry, etc., I think that's the respect that we shower to people who are from the industry. So I said, I'll, do what I can do, which is to ask questions and get those clarifications and see if I can move this. And I think a lot of us know what Sharpsell is, and a small intro is that we kind of do a lot of work in enabling frontline sales teams. So the assumption we run with is that today most people get into this, sales job. I'm calling it sales job because it's the primary, JD calls it as, you are sales, you have targets. So most people get into it because they didn't want to get in. They just found that this is a job that they could do. So you come in, some people excel at it, some people, manage to keep running along. So our objective was to say, given that this is the reality, given that a lot of people don't hit their incentive, given that there's a lot of pressure, people jump for like 1,000, 2,000 rupee salary hikes. So while all this reality exists, our question was to say, how do you ensure that your sales folks, your representatives come across as experts? And one of the beliefs we have, and we work with a lot of industries. So we work with people in pharma, we work with people in insurance, banking, auto, whatnot. And the common thread was that there's a lot of inputs that go into people on the front line. And the expectation is that
They should consume everything.
yeah, they will. Yeah, it's not just they'll consume. It's like when I give it to you, you're going to understand everything. Then you'll retain it. Then you'll kind of when the conversation happens, you'll decipher the conversation, know what exactly to pick, and then package it well, communicate, give it. So there are too many steps where things would break. And I think to take back to what Sriram was saying, people want to take all these inputs, but they want to see success. And to add a word, what we have realized is people want that success immediately. So if you say कि आप ये पढ़ाई करो आज, और एक दो दिन में if I can see outcome, then you're like super cool. Hey, it worked. But you say in 1 month you will come. 1 month is become like long-term planning for most people from what we say, because their question was how do I not get screamed at the end of the week? A lot of times it's very civil and dignified. Sometimes it crosses into thresholds where we don't have control on. So our question was to say, if this is the reality of the world that we are living in terms of sales, how can we kind of equip people to still come across as experts? Because so we don't really think that people can know and knowledge, have everything and conquer everything. So we are not there today from what we see. But question is, how do you bridge the gap? And I think that's where, a lot of what Sharpsell does is to say was, how can you use your frontline teams as conduits to communicate what we want to do? And in the meantime, don't burden them with information on what they are going to do, but how are we going to really help them understand the customer persona? So I think when we spoke about they don't belong in the same household, just to clarify, so the idea is not that they're not educated, they don't have money, etc. But when I say same household, it's like one of those cliches where you say doctor will only marry a doctor. Why? Because you understand the lifestyle of it kind. So in terms of understanding the lifestyle, can our reps relate to the lifestyle of that doctor? For example, everybody knows that boss doctor is there sitting morning to evening, consulting, looking at hearing sob stories of everybody getting blamed, blah blah. But that stops at a certain level. I can't really go in and say, boss, what will happen? What is happening? Because I know I have hospital, so I can't go to my kid's school. I have a lot of constraints. I can't just take 2 weeks vacation and go off. So while we can tell them a lot of things, it's going to be difficult for them to do it. And what our focus is on is to say, how are you going to create those different personas of what the doctor. So one is who is the doctor. Second is what kind of practice are they in. Third is what is what lifestyle are they in, what are their interests, and how do you kind of look at getting those, let's say a short pitch that works for them. And what we have seen is that and this is where I think we are using technology, because today if you were to put it on paper, the number of permutation combinations are infinite. And it's going to be virtually impossible to structure that and give it to somebody, because they also keep changing dynamically. So, and this is where we are using some of our AI tools to say, how are you going to make it, how are you going to make it absolutely dynamic? So one of the things that we are talking about today is how we're going to have this dynamic pitch, where you just kind of enter 2-3 things on what is your relationship with the doctor. Are they, what is the relationship, of the doctor with your brand? What is the kind of area that they are in? What do you think their interest could be? Then how are you generating that pitch that you can say, doctor, this is what I wanted to talk about. How do you kind of get that as well? And I think, unfortunately we wanted to get it out for this seminar, but I think we're having a small delay in kind of getting this product ready. So we've kind of, I think we're not doing the VR part right now, but so we're doing something called conversational role play, where we're actually using AI to have these conversations.
And what is behind that algorithm there? Means is it a psychography model you have taken for the customers or what?
It comes two things. So one, we are looking at doing three kind of inputs. So one is what is happening in the therapy area. Second is what could be the persona of the doctor. So third is we are also trying to bring in what is the persona / profile of the salesperson. For example, let's say if somebody is an introvert, a lot of introverts in sales. So question is, maybe I'm not very comfortable talking about something personal. So typically introverts are very good at talking work, but you put them outside work, they can't do that. Which means if there is somebody who's an introvert, I can't go and challenge them to say, when there are 10 other people standing there, you say, sir, kal match dekha aapne, Australia killed it. This introvert can never do that, while an extrovert may be able to do that. So question is, how are you also kind of modeling this according to what persona this guy brings along? Is it easy to get all this answer? It's going to keep evolving, But the idea is that how can you kind of tailor the pitch based on who this person also is? Because, and more often than not, what we've seen is if somebody is not comfortable doing something, they'll go back to the old ways. So how are you able to do something where you say, I'm okay saying this out. I'm not confident. I may not know if it will work, but can I still give it on? So I think that's the interaction that we are looking at in the next stage where, how are you going to do that? So we are looking at this solving at three levels. So first is, how are you going to make an entry where you're going to get that trust? Second is, if somebody is ready to engage with you, what are you going to do to continue building the trust? And third is, if somebody already has a trust, how are you going to value add to them? Because let's say they already impressed you, you understand the therapy area, they think that, you can bring some case studies, you talk about, sir, us doctor ke saath ye hua tha. So basically people want to hear some anecdotes, what happened. So let's say if I've already crossed that, then how do you, engage further? What kind of anecdotes are you giving? How is that value adding to this specific HCP? So I think that's where the evolution is, where we say the conversation is not just about you talking about what it is, but it's about understanding what's going around and how are you able to adapt to that, because the possibilities are infinite. So, and I think that's where I think AI, for example, is, helped us quite a lot, because the definition of this context is there. And while we were doing this, I think we had to do a lot of work in understanding, let's say, medical terminologies, etc. Because some of these, we had to develop our own models to understand this, because a lot of times, brand names are not recognized, your terminologies are not recognized, and that gives a very poor experience. Yeah. And we've had cases where, where we've had like, I mean, where people say, my sales head tried this, and the tool gave a score of 2 on 10, and that was like chucked out immediately, and we said we don't want to be there because
showing the mirror.
It's okay. I didn't mean it that way.
No. Sometimes what is happening with these AI tools. I just say it's complicated product names, है ना?
Yeah.
That they don't pick up, and then the wrong message comes, or a disease, a wrong thing comes. So then and here is where that human and AI thing together has to come, because if the disease is said wrong or it's very, very complex, because we are all into too many diseases, too many brands, too many products. So how do you
and include too many dialects and too many ways of saying same things.
Falls flat.
So I think that's where we had to kind of put in a lot of effort, because so we had to kind of train the model to ensure that it understood what people are trying to say, because I mean, we are not a country where you speak perfect English. People are going to have broken sentences. People are going to, when English is, for all practical reasons, the conversation with HCPs also a lot of times don't happen in English. Okay. So the question was, how do we kind of have something that reflects what it is? Because I can't force somebody to, give an English pitch when in reality they're seldom going to use that. So I think those are challenges that we've kind of addressed to actually make it effective, because to get it started is easy, but question is, how do you give the confidence that, the feedback that I'm getting from this is very pointed and sharp. I think that's where it is, and maybe in another 3 to 4 weeks time, we'll probably like showcase that to you. But
very interesting.
Sure. So I think, I had a few slides, but I think I'm going to skip them for everybody's benefit.
Sometimes the challenge also comes because the AI gives them a response, because we've used, I know Harsh was using one, and we speak sometimes on it, but kai baar the AI gives you one feedback and the manager feedback and AI feedback doesn't talk to each other.
Yeah.
So adoption becomes a challenge. So if you're still in the build or later build stage and all that, maybe you would want to think on.
So we've actually, interestingly, we've got a feature called calibration. Yeah.
we have a different experience now. So now we are saying
Wrap it up in 2
that
minutes.
usually the manager's feedback and the AI's feedback are now matching.
And in
Usually we
fact,
had that.
yeah.
Now we've integrated our
machine
coaching
learning
tool
and
in this
most
very,
of
very sharply. So now we are seeing similar thing initially.
So we've got something called calibration where you say right at the beginning. So you don't wait for, ages to get this. So we say right in the beginning, you have like, let's say some 5 role plays, rated by 5 different people, and the AI will calibrate it saying, hey, it looks like this is what is acceptable to this organization in this context for this given set of people. Maybe tomorrow, let's say, somebody else does it. They might say that, I know this rated 4 now, but I'm rating it as 3, whatnot. So we say, let's kind of bring the tool to something that's acceptable by you, because you set the standards, not the
No, Arun,
platform.
here, see, I have a different take because see, we have been doing this for last 2.5 years where we are using hybrid kind of a thing, correct? We are technology we are using for uploading the, that your pitch over there, correct? But rating is done by manager, correct? And there he is giving the points in the stars and other things. So what happens now that, my experience over here, that a person who is sitting in Maharashtra, correct, and the kind of accent and the kind of pitch and other thing is required there, how it is being rated, correct, and a person who is sitting in Bihar, correct, what is the difference there? Because somewhere that AI, we go for more standardization kind of a thing. And that is where that standardization is not required, but that local flavor is required. So hybrid approach is working for us.
Our point was that, what we are seeing is for the guy in Maharashtra, AI is, let's say, is rating that person, her, on 3 on a scale of 5. And we are saying the manager also is rating her at around 3 only.
Okay.
What we are saying is that the ratings given by AI as
It's
well as the
matching.
managers of the same person, they are matching.
So 1-2 years back, जब नए tools आए थे, then वो बहुत problem
बहुत
with
problem,
understanding
right,
the
yes,
नीति. And
correct.
also what you're saying is right, because sometimes the nuances are different, the
Correct.
contexts are different. Town 2 to interior towns में there's different type of calls that happen compared to metro towns. So those I think will take a lot of time unless you've cracked it.
You depend on keywords picking up and then.
No, see, that's just to add in, because the earlier models
Easy denial.
Yeah, the
were
keywords.
based on NLPs, right? So
This
which
is
means that you are
NLPs.
losing and language processing to figure out. You kind of say, okay, I'm going to pick up words, keywords, etc. And we've seen that bomb. Because keywords, for example, you say use one keyword. I don't know what context somebody is using that keyword. So that matters quite a lot. And those things, and that's where the 2 on 5 rating and all comes. And
I get that point.
And people might use different words to say the same thing.
Same
thing, yeah.
I mean, they might use different words to communicate the same keyword. The technology has to be able to catch that.
Possibly true. But medically keywords will not change much. So, right? So
Keywords se
need
matlab
to
core
tell-
messages. See, if you want somebody to
the
talk about
whole thing. Yeah.
efficacy, for example.
Like sometime back when the AI tools started coming in, वो accents सारे foreign वाले थे.
Correct.
yeah.
So people accepted that was a problem. Then now people started developing. You want to use A, B, C, D. कौन सा accent you want to pick up?
Correct.
So it helped in adoption.
So we look forward to
Yeah.
what
For
you
sure.
have to show us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe 3-4 weeks, whenever you are ready.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So just before, like, we can take this conversation out of this room, and just before we leave, if we could have like a group photograph.
Sure.
Okay. That, and there is dinner, and I think there are drinks as well. So if you all could just stay back for that as
That's the
well.
last ask for today.